Okay, I'm gonna start off with, I'm gonna show you materials. So I'm gonna start off with a blank sheet of paper, just so I can clearly show you materials I like to use when sketching by hand. So I'm gonna put them all up here, just all out, just using black. And we can use Prismacolors too, but I'm not gonna mess with those because now black pens, minus the ballpoint pen, black pens are the best for, scanning. And I guess it's obvious because it makes a crispest scan, or when you're photographing it. So let me show you the difference between these. And these are my favorite pens that I've been looking for pens, and I found the very best pens. And there's one that I want to show you especially. All right, now ballpoint pens. Let's just start off with this. I have to say my very favorite pen is this guy, Bic Yellow, Yellow Bic. Now, if you're in America, you cannot find these. These are really rare in America. You can get them in Mexico and you can get them in Europe. And I learned about these when I was at school in England, and they use these for sketching in Europe a lot if you're using ballpoint pen, and it's better than the Bic Crystal, which is this one. This is the Bic Crystal. I love these things because it's a perfect balance between pencil and pen. It is permanent, of course. It has its drawbacks, but I'll tell you why I love this thing, because you can get really expression. And I know you guys know ballpoint pens, okay? I mean, you know about this stuff, but I'm just gonna, for those of you who don't, I gotta get my camera focused back here. Focus this guy. Okay, there, I gotta lock it down. So I'm gonna go over here. Focus, lock. Okay. So that's this. Now, I'll show you. I'll give you an example of each one, and I'm going to just draw a box for just a simple cube to show you the difference between them. Now, look how light I can get. I mean, this is really light. It's not as light as a pencil, but I'm barely adding any pressure. But you can really get light, and then conversely, you can get as heavy as you want. So the ability for this, just the flexibility of this thing, and look how tight those lines are. You can get tight lines in between. So that's why I like this thing. So let me give you a demonstration as far as a box and show you the quality. So, and by the way, when you're sketching, I like to sketch extremely light to start with. If you sketch hard to start with, you're screwed, aren't you? Really, because you can't cover it up. But in this case, I'm going to go light, and then when I'm more secure about my sketch, then I'll get harder. But you can really treat this thing like a pencil. One face. Okay, I'm going to say the light. I'm doing VisCom 101 and VisCom 2. Showing you where light sources are, but might as well just reiterate it because it's the same stuff. You're going to still have to do the same stuff when it comes to digital rendering. So the light's coming over here. My shadow is going to be cast this way. So therefore, and now I'm going to make this part dark because it's a dark transition from the cube onto the table. So light's here shining through. So the shadow, the darkest shadow will probably be here. So let me do that. So I'll make this a little bit darker. Slowly and controlled, so I don't get out of the bounds, out of my lines. I get out a little bit, of course, right here, but so there, and then the top surface is going to be this lightest, of course, because it's the light is hitting this. Now notice also how I'm sketching nearest me. This corner is nearest me, right? And so nearest me, it's going to be darker, and as I go away, it's lighter. And if you notice, I did that with all three surfaces: the top, this side, and this side. I'll even make this a little more pronounced because we want high contrast. High contrast just makes the thing look way better. Generally speaking, you don't want to be too subtle. And let's just really get this one dark. So those are my three surfaces with my light over there. Now I'm gonna shade in my shadow. And as it comes closer to me, it fades out. The concept behind this fading in the shadow is the shadow is darkest near the source of the shadow. Let's have a look. All right, you can see here. Here's a can, right? Here's a can. What's the shadow? Hold on, let's just see. Okay, right. I'm covering up with my lights, but the source of the shadow is right here, closest to the object. See how it's darker here? I'm going to cover up the light. Darker here, and as it goes out, it gets lighter. So that's the concept behind shadows. They're darkest at its, I guess you call it its source, closest to, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, that's how it works. Conceptually, there's always different things, but so this is ballpoint pen. Now, let me get back to talking about this particular pen. I would strongly recommend ordering these because it's like maybe 12 bucks for a pack of 10, and the 10 is going to last you forever. I mean, I think I've had a pack of 10 of these things for at least 5 years. So don't, it's cheap, cheap, cheap. Order them either from Mexico on Amazon. Go to order them from Mexico, or you can get them on Amazon, but they're going to be coming from Mexico, or you go to the European and Amazon, I don't know, England or Europe somewhere. England is not part of Europe. It's called Bic Fine. Sorry, Bic Fine, or Yellow Bics. Conversely, this is called the Bic Crystal. And so this is fine. So, but the crystal is medium. And I'll just show you, I'll just demonstrate quickly what, so this right here is what the Bic Fine can do. The Bic Crystal, it's a little bit fatter. It's not as refined. This is the original. This was designed in the 60s. And this is, they haven't changed the design. So it's like one of those design classics, but this guy came in later and it's just not as refined. The ball is bigger and I don't know, it's good. It's my second favorite ballpoint pen. As I say, don't go down Papermate. Don't go down any other brands except for Bic. These little French guys are the best. I guess it's like lighters as well. Those Bic lighters are way better than, I don't know, the cheapos, I guess. All right, so number one, but this is not the best for scanning, and I'll get into it. We'll scan my page and I'll show you where this works great in Photoshop, but it sucks in Illustrator. And I'll write that in here. Ballpoint pen, good for Photoshop, sucks for Illustrator. Okay, just separate this off a little bit. Next, my second favorite pen, and it's a tie between these two. Now let's see if I can get it in the light. Okay, this is a Pilot. You can see its name. It's a brand here, Pilot V7, and they also have a V5. I love this pen because it's just smooth, 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 and the lines come out really, really nice. And it's a hard pen. The nib, I don't know what it's made out of, to be honest, but it's hard. It's not soft. Conversely, here, I'll just put this here so you can see, but these things are bad boys. Secondly, my other heavy black pen favorite is Sharpie Twin Tip. Now the Sharpie Twin Tip, I guess it's obvious because you have a fat tip here, then you have a thin tip here. I mostly use the thin tip. This is very versatile because at least you can fill mad black. You can fill up big black spaces with the thick tip. So this is very versatile. But let me show you the difference. And the nib on this pen, it's soft. It's a felt tip, and so it's kind of you can destroy it. You can really destroy that pen if you're drawing on really rough stuff and you press too hard. It just has a different look. So let's try another box. I'm going to use my favorite V7. So another box. Look at that. So I can get very nice thin lines with this. That's thin, thin, thin. And look how light. I'm just barely applying any pressure. My light source is going to be up here. And I'll do the shading. So it's going to be the same shading technique as this, as my top one, my ballpoint pen one. So start off light and start off light because you can always add. If you start off dark, you cannot take away when you're dealing with pens. So be safe. Start off light there. And then this side's going to be the darker side, just like up here. So I'll go a little bit harder, or I won't go harder. I'll just go tighter between the lines. Because I don't want to go hard yet. There. And the top one, of course, is going to be the lightest. I have to be very careful. Really fade that guy off nice. Here's another point I want to mention. Just like I mentioned how the shadow works, darkest near the core or near the origin of the shadow, the opposite happens with the reflections. The light is up here, right? So the brightest part is going to be right here at this end, and it's going to get darker as it comes near you because the light has to travel a further distance. And it sounds a little weird, but I'll tell you the theory behind that in a second. So now I'm just going to go darker. Oops, sorry, you can't see really. Here we go. There we go. It looks distorted because my camera's distorting it. But so anyway, it doesn't matter. This is really about like contrast or showing you what these pens do. So now you can instantly see the difference between the black quality a little bit between this and this. At least I can. Let me just fine tune. I really have to fine tune the color stuff because ballpoint pen has this kind of purple. Oh, come on. Let me just fine tune this color stuff. White balance exposure. This is really more about, this is kind of really more realistic. And then let's just try this white balance. Because I wanted to be able to show you, okay, here. This is more realistic. Okay, so you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's a slight blue purple tinge with this. And down here, this is black. It's black. So, and notice my core dark line where the box is sitting on the ground. It's very, very different. This black pen is way darker. Shade this in. Now you have to be able to draw nice parallel lines, or you can shade it. Many people shade different ways. So this is just how I do it. And get that contrast. Notice, be very critical with yourself. And like I'm looking at this, it's not bad, it's not great either, but there's no contrast between these two, or hardly any. So start off with this the darkest side, and I'm going to go over this one more time, and I'm keeping with my lines because I'm kind of neat when I sketch, which has its bad points and good points, but there, that's good. Now there's a good contrast between top surface, other surface, and third surface. So this is the Pilot. Don't worry, we're going to get into the computer in a second. Pilot V7. Good. This is a good pen. And finally, I think this is finally, I guess I could do a pencil as well, but finally the Sharpie, this bad boy. Okay, once again. So now the difference this guy bleeds. Notice at the end of each of my stroke, it bleeds, or at the ends of my, and so that adds a really nice kind of style. If you use Procreate, there's a pen on Procreate called, I'm gonna have to, I can't remember it right now. I don't want to open my iPad, but there's a pen that recreates this this felt tip pen looks. And it's very, very cool. So I'm gonna see it's bleeding. It bleeds at the ends, and it just has that very unique. That's very typical of a felt tip pen. It bleeds. Markers bleed, but you know, ballpoints don't bleed, and nor does the B5, B7. What was I say about bleeding? Oh yeah, something about bleeding. Okay, I'm gonna put marker on this too. First I'm gonna scan it, and then I'll put marker on to show you how each of these react to marker. And it does matter, because if you want to blend computer drawing and manual drawing, which is absolutely beautiful, then you want to know this, what I'm showing you. Okay, sunlight's over here, or the light source. Oh, here we go. Photoshop, this is good on Photoshop. And Illustrator especially. Doubly good for that, Photoshop. Okay, I'm gonna start off with my neutral, my middle. I like to start off, so this is the lightest surface, this is the darkest surface. I like to start with the middle surface, because from that point, I can figure out this needs to be way lighter and this needs to be way darker. So that's why I'm always starting with this particular, this is the medium, this is the balance. So that's that side. Let's go dark on this side. And I'm just making the lines tighter together to make that look darker. And then the top one. So you see, there's not a lot of contrast. So let's beef up this. In fact, I kind of screwed up the top, to be honest. As I went a little bit too much. I should have chilled it out, but hey, you make mistakes. Hey, at least I did it light. I can fix it easily. So let's really beef this one up. A little bit beef up of this side as well. Don't forget to fade it off. There, I'm gonna stop it now. So I do at least have three, at least they have a little bit of contrast. And this is Sharpie Twin Tip. These things are cheap too. Well, $1.50. And this is amazing. Photoshop, Illustrator. Yeah, it's okay on Photoshop, but it's really awesome for Illustrator. And last but not least is, and I didn't pull it out because I didn't want to do it, but I will do it. I'm going to show you a pencil, because might as well go through the whole plethora of our main tools. So I don't know why I'm coughing. Black. Pencil. Okay. Well, pencil is, you can really get very expressive. And I guess the pencil is the most expressive of them all, but the least adaptable and the most old-fashioned, because it's a pain in the neck dealing with pencils. But it's very expressive. It's quite illustrative. It's quite fine arty, I guess. And very much in control, but it's a little amateur as well, if you think about it, because you should be able to handle doing pen work. And so it's a little more advanced. You have to have more control with your hand. Pencil, well, maybe I'm talking, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. But it is actually quite nice here. Light source. And I'll shade this in. And a little more contrast right in here. Darkest near me. As you go away, make it lighter. And I'll tell you why that is. And this is, I forgot the brand of these. These are Prismacolor. I think they're just called Prismacolor. Prismacolor pencils. Okay, Photoshop, in fact, doubly good for Photoshop. Sucks at Illustrator, totally. So there, we have these two are the same, more or less, these two are opposites. So anyway, those are my materials. Those are my go-to materials. Now, since we're on about light source, and I have to explain some stuff. I'll get back onto it in a second. All right. The reason why you make it dark nearest you, the corner, is because number one, that corner nearest you is the focal point. That's the thing that's going to be in focus. If you take a photograph of it, that front corner is going to be in focus. And as you go away, it's going to get out of focus. So that's one reason why up close it's darker, because when it goes away and it blurs, it gets lighter. So that's one reason. Second reason for doing this, you want that focal point, that point nearest you, to be the eye catcher, and it's going to be crispy. It's going to be, you have details, and you focus on that one corner, and then as you go back, you don't really care so much about it because you're really focusing on that corner, and so it goes. You draw faster. You don't have to worry about all the stuff in the background, and it just adds a lot of depth. We want a lot of depth in our drawings, so that's the number two reason for dark near, light away. And conceptually, and this is about scale. So here I am standing here, I look out the window and there's a building there, crispy. But if I look back farther, there's mountains, theoretically there's mountains 10 miles back, and the mountains are very faded because the atmosphere of the earth, fades it. So that's the core concept of darker near you, the further you go back, the lighter it gets. Because you're going to do this a lot. Here's my raw scan. And so what I always do, so I do not destroy my original drawing, I duplicate it. So there, I'm duplicating this layer. So I leave this layer, and so in case I really screw up somewhere, I always have the original. And it's nice to always have the original. So I'm going to mess with this one, and I'm going to show you, this is something we do all the time. Now we go up to image. Image, adjust, levels. Okay, here's our levels thing. And I'm sure many of you guys know this already, but some of you don't. So, and students say, hey, Brooke, there's a fast way to do this. Use these things. I know that, but I want to show you from scratch how to adjust your drawing. Well, firstly, I just want to point out, look, the paper's a little bit brown, and you see all this texture. So what I like to do to just keep it pure, I like to make it black and white. I don't want color at this point. So I'm going to go to image, mode, grayscale. I'm not going to flatten it. Don't flatten. Discard. Discard the colors. So now it's pure black and white. Second, I'm going to go to the image, adjust the levels.
that I just was about to do. Levels. Here we are, levels. Now, all the designers I know use this. So what we do is to get rid of this, it's kind of got a light gray background, and to get rid of the this texture, paper texture, we're gonna squeeze in this white side. This white arrow adjusts the white stuff. Notice, there we go. I crank it up and adjust the white. This dark side, the black side, increases the darks. So what I do is I pinch them together. They start with white, pinch it in so I can get rid of the texture of the paper. But I balance it so I do not lose the fine sketching of the ballpoint pen. But anyway, there. I'm gonna. That's one side, and then I beef up the contrast with putting the black in there, so you can see it darkening up, but not too dark, just enough. There. Okay. That's what we do with the levels, and so let's just do a comparison. This, which is not bad, but then this is way more contrasty, way more punchy. So now let me show you the differences when we zoom in. Now with ballpoint pen, this is the ballpoint pen side. This is why it kind of is not great for a computer. Well, it works good, but you lose definition. So here's without the levels, and you see everything's very clear. But then when you start putting on the levels, you lose definition in some of these lines. This is the ballpoint pen section. But if we go down here to this pilot, the black ink stuff, we don't lose any. So by making it black and white and cleaning it all up, getting rid of all that texture with the levels, I don't lose any definition with this black pen because it's black. And basically the same with the Sharpie as well. So once again, I don't lose any definition. It's all there because this pen is black. Now the contrast, the biggest contrast is this pencil. When you start messing with those levels, you start taking the white away, it starts to lose a lot of definition. So here, my pencil looks way better, but then I start to make this gray background go away, and I lose all this definition. So that's why I prefer pen, because I'm always scanning my work in. Okay, now I'm going to open Illustrator now and show you. Now I have Illustrator, and I'm going to open my desktop and my line demo. I'm going to drag this into Illustrator so it opens it. Okay. Okay, drawing is pure. It's just a pure drawing. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to duplicate it because I'm going to show you some different techniques in taking this into Illustrator. To duplicate, I click on this and then I press such a habit. Control. I'm using a Macintosh. I hold my finger down, clicking it, and I'm pressing Option Alt. And therefore, you see those little arrows? There's a black one on top, a white one underneath. That means I'm duplicating. This is how you duplicate super fast. You want to duplicate away. And it's just holding that option. This will save. I use this all the time. So I'm just going to delete these for now because all I want is one. The virgin one right here, and then this one, which I'm going to modify. So apologies for those of you who know this already, but this is an amazing thing for those of you who don't know this. It's called Live Trace. And let's see how these different materials work with Live Trace. So click on it. You have to click on your sketch and make sure it's active with this bounding box. You see it in blue with these anchor points. So it's active. While it's active, I go up here to Object, Image Trace down here. It's a little tiny thing down here, Image Trace, Make. So it's going to do this. It's making it. Okay. What it does is it does what it says it does. It traces, image trace, and you can see how it behaves. Now notice how crappy the pencil comes out, because you need those really hard lines with black for it to come out nicely. Now this is Ballpoint Pen, which doesn't come out as good because Ballpoint Pen is a perfect balance between pencil and black pen. So Ballpoint Pen is like pencil. It doesn't come out so good. So that's why I say it sucks for Illustrator. And so does pencil. Pencil sucks for Illustrator. Look at that. Pencil, you can't see. But let's adjust this. These things don't look great right now. These are really what I'm focusing on, because these two, the Pilot Pen and the Sharpie, work magnificently with Illustrator. But let me just show you the difference between Sharpie and Pilot. Notice how these lines came out real nicer with this Pilot pen, because this Pilot pen is not a felt tip. It's got a hard tip. But the Sharpie has got a felt tip. And so therefore it's kind of got this a little bit of gradient in between in the lines. So when you felt tip, right as you put the pen down and you stroke, it gets lighter until you get to the end. That's why it bleeds on the ends. So if you're using Illustrator, and you're going to see in a second, but this is the bad boy right here. This Pilot V7 is the creme de la creme for computer. And I'll show you why. So I've live traced it. I've live traced it. Now let's adjust the live trace. So here's my dialog box up here for live trace. It's right here, live trace, tracing results. It's these things right here. All this other stuff doesn't matter. So here, so I'm in live trace right now, and I'm going to click on this little guy right here, image trace panel. It says this is going to open up the dialog box for image trace, and I'm clicking it now. Where is it? Oh, it's popping onto my other monitor. Okay, my image trace dialog box. So there's different different presets you can use. And I don't use any of this stuff. Honestly, I'm not even gonna really, well, I'll demonstrate just a little, but I just jump to the, I don't need all these pre-done things, I don't know. I'm gonna escape that. All right, so the dialog box. And I'm gonna go to advanced right here, advanced. This gives me all the options to tweak. So once again, I'm just going to repeat this for you guys in case you're just now opening Illustrator. Go to so here's my drawing. It's all, you see the anchor points, it's activated. I go to Object. I'm in Illustrator, Object and Image Trace. Image Trace, oh, Make. Okay, let me just try again. Object, Image Trace. I think I've already activated it. Yeah, I'll start over. Activate it by, I can see it's activated. Object, Image Trace, Make. Takes a little bit of time to read everything. Oh, and by the way, that's why I turned it in Photoshop into black and white, because if you have color, it's going to read all of those colors and it's going to make the file just a pain in the neck. It's black and white, it's only going to go black and white. So there we have it. I'm going to open up the dialog box right in here. And in case you didn't have it, by default, it opens like that. And there's a secret little thing right here, the advanced. Click on the advanced. Now you can adjust things. So let's just adjust noise. Crank this up, and it's going to get way darker. Oh, wait a sec. Noise. Well, let me just try this. You can see it suggesting things though. I thought noise was going to make more. Well, let me take it back down. All right, well, I'm really focusing on this one and this one because I would never live trace pencil drawing. I would hardly ever live trace a ballpoint pen. So let's make this guy look amazing. So I'm going to adjust the noise. Noise is, it's hard to describe what it is. It's just interference. But I'm going to take it down a little because I want this guy to be crispy and nice. See, I want these lines to come out nice. So let's go to threshold. This will make it go darker. It'll expose more. So now by turning it with the threshold, it picked up a lot more. And now I can see really, it's all my lines are coming through nicely. If I were to take it down, the threshold, it's gonna hide more stuff. But basically, I don't expect you to remember everything. But my point is here is when you sketch, and if you use this type of pen, you can come out with beautiful sketches. This is such a nice high contrast comic book style illustration, and if you're using this guy, the Pilot V7, you will make the most nicest sketches ever by using Illustrator. And the beautiful thing about doing it in scanning your drawings, putting them into Illustrator is this. I'm happy with this. And what I'm going to do now is, right now it's just a filter. And this is, I don't mean to get too deep, we'll get into it later, but the thing is, it's just a filter right now. You have to expand it. So I'm going to press Control Y, which shows you your paths. There's no paths. I didn't make any paths. It's a filter. But when I go to expand, it takes a little time, and it'll make it all paths. So now you can see it's paths. It's all paths. And if I press Control Y, I'll tell you, you'll figure this out later. But this is just showing you exactly where all the paths are. It's actually quite pretty. And then I go back to the real view, not showing the paths, Control Y. That's what it looks like in reality. So now, what time is it? Okay. It's 5 o'clock. We have now 6:45 an hour. Let's have a little break. Let's have a 15-minute break. That means we'll come back at 5:20, and I'll take you into the next step. But before we do that, has anyone got any questions? Is this making sense to you, or is this cool?
Can you show how you pulled up the paths one more time?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So now, what do you mean pulled up the paths? Take it from that filter into reality?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So no problem. Let me do that. I'm undoing. So right now it's just a filter, and if you press Command Y, you're not going to see any. There's no paths. It hasn't activated the paths. It's just a visual.
Yeah.
Okay. So there. So now I'm going to make it paths. I'm going to go to this little guy right here. Expand. Let's press Expand. Takes a little time. And now it will make it officially paths. So now,
Okay.
So now, but, and oopsie. So look what I can do with this. I know we're gonna have a little break, but for example, now we have paths. This is what I can do. With my sketch, I can do whatever I want. So I can do something, I'm gonna grab a little anchor point. And I can mess with my sketch. Oops, cancel. I can mess with my sketch. Let's try some. Well, yeah, I mean, my goodness, you can alter your sketch, and play with it. And I know it's a little bit confusing right now, but you would never be able to do this. And you can just make cool stuff. Let's just delete that. Anyway, I mean, look, I just made a piece of modern art with this. Okay, well, anyway, let's have a little break, and we'll come back at 5:20-ish. This is what Photoshop looks like. Let's just get in there. I'm just going to get in there. Let's start drawing. So down here, this menu down here on the left is your main menu, and here's this little paintbrush is where the drawing thing is. The drawing paintbrush is the drawing thing. So here we go, and I'm going to choose this brush tool. I'm not using these other guys down here. I don't really use these things, so I'm using this normal brush tool. This is the default, what you're always going to use. There's also a pencil somewhere, but pencil tool. I never use the pencil. It's really nasty. It's gross. But brush tool. Now, let's just move in. Let's go straight into the brush tool. Let's just test it. I always test it there, and I can see it's light, so I have some settings not right. So wait, maybe it's super thin. This is a 4. I can see it's 4 pixels wide, which is normally okay. I'm going to zoom in. Now to zoom in, I'm not using this. I'm using the shortcuts because I have one hand on my keyboard, one hand with my pen, and on my keyboard I'm going Command plus, which is the zoom in.
I think the brush is on the dissolve setting.
Yeah, you're
up at the
right.
top.
Right. Yes, yeah. No, you're right. This is totally true. But it still should be dark. And so now I'm having a little bit of an issue right now, to be honest. Oh, I see what it is. All right, I know why it's like this. Okay, it's not because of the dissolve. It's because right here, this is how you would, right now it's on a very light gray. This is a very light gray. If I double click this little what looks white, you can see it's a little bit gray. Full white is up in that corner. That's full white. So that's why I could barely see these lines that I sketched. So I'm cool with that for now. And I just click this little corner piece right here, little corner piece. This is how you easily flip from black to white or 2 colors. You can have one blue and one red. But anyway, I'm flipping it to black. So now it should work. There we go. Now we're back to what I'm used to anyway. I'm going to undo all this. And undo is, usual. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. There, fresh, clean piece of paper. So let me test it one more time. Okay. So I'm noticing this does not have any pressure sensitivity. I'm pressing light, 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 and I'm pressing hard, and I'm going light, and it's still the same. So the pressure sensitivity, God knows why it's doing that. Let me just look at. I haven't set this up. Oh, I see, because it's this hard round. Okay, in my brush dialog box, here's the brushes. Up here is where you can adjust your brushes way more, just a lot more. So I'm going to click on this little arrow button down here. And these are default Photoshop brushes, which I'm happy with. I don't need to make my own brushes most of the time, but for sketching, I'm good with this. But it's self-explanatory what each of these thumbnails is. So, for example, let's just try this extreme airbrush. Okay, you won't see it right now because my brush is so small. But if I increase my brush size, and which is the brackets underneath, it's underneath these 2 brackets, left and right. So if I press these with my fingers, and I'm making it bigger by the right bracket, and then I make it smaller by the left bracket, this is how I'm going to adjust my brush. Now this is very important, these buttons, because you're always going to be doing. I need a thin line, I need a thick line, I need a really thick airbrush. So these brackets you will use constantly. So as I say, one hand is on the keyboard, the other hand is on the mouse or the pen. So so this is the airbrush brush. and I use that for airbrushing, obviously. But down here, I really like this guy right here. Or, yeah, this guy. This means it gets thicker and thinner. So I'm gonna go really light. And I'm gonna go harder, and it gets bigger, and I go lighter. And this, I really like this brush. This is my favorite brush because, you know, look at, you get that very thick to thin, like comic book style. Shade stuff like a comic book. With the cross, it's called cross hatching. So, and it's very, very fluid and nice. So let me just make a new page and start to sketch something with this brush. So you guys experiment with these brushes, but let me just give you a reminder. This one right here is really the daddy. There's another alternative one to this, and which is not as expressive, but it's not bad. It's this guy, these two guys, these three. And what it is instead of it gets thinner and thicker, it gets lighter and darker. But these guys are not as useful. They're more useful for rendering. So here, let's show you. Light, dark, light. I'm pressing. I'm using the pressure sensitivity. But it just doesn't. So I can sketch with it, but it's always the same mono width. So I'm not going to get that fresh. I'm not going to get that fresh look as I would with this brush. So let me try. Let's just try this one stroke. Okay. It just looks way better. So I would say, out of all the brushes, this guy is your main sketching one. So let me delete everything. Now, how I'm going to delete everything is, so unfortunately I drew on the background. And background is hard. You cannot mess with background unless you get rid of this lock button. You just press it. That's it. And now I can mess with it. Now I can turn on and off. But before it was locked, I can't do anything. Oh, I thought I could. Well, anyway, whatever. To mess with it, you have to turn that lock button off. If it's locked, I cannot erase. Now let me show you erasing. I cannot. You see that do not, that symbol means I can't do anything. It's because could not use eraser because the layer is locked. Well, if I unlock it, now I can erase. Okay. But let's just, so what I did when I erased through the white and through my ink and through my black, I guess we'll call it ink. And now this checkerboard behind is the background. If I turn off all the white and all, if I turn that layer off, no layer, you can tell because the eyeball's turned off. This checkerboard means it's transparent, and that's how you can tell if things are transparent. So I'm gonna get rid of this. And to get rid of things, I just drag. There's many ways to do this. You can either go up here and say delete, but let's just go fast. And you just drag this thing into the paper bin or waste basket or trash can. Oh, it's not doing it. Maybe, I forgot because I don't think, sorry, I sound like an idiot, but I don't think Photoshop, I think you have to have a layer. So let's just turn this guy back on and make a new layer. And now I can get rid of this. There always has to be a layer. So let's get rid of that one and have a fresh layer. On this fresh layer, there's nothing on here, so it's transparent. It's like a pane of glass. There's nothing on there, so I need to give, I could sketch on here. So let's go to B for brush. By the way, B for brush and E for eraser. So these shortcuts you really will learn and appreciate. But I can draw on here, but it's super confusing because this checkerboard is it's like drawing on a window. The background's gonna screw you up. It's hard to draw. So I'm gonna make a new layer right here, and I'm gonna fill it up with white. And there's many ways to do this. And I guess one of the ways is go down here, and it has a very simple, it says create new fill or adjustment layer. So I'm gonna go in here and click on it, hold my click and go to solid color and fill it with white or any color you want. It's, you know, but let's just go white for now. Okay, so now I've got a nice white background. Move it behind. I'm grabbing it, holding my button down and going, dragging it below. So now this guy is on top. So it's all about layers. Just building up layers. So, and if you make a mistake, like I might have made a mistake here, I can always make a new layer and I've turned that one off and I can start again. So, you know, layers helps really make things so you can fix them. So let's start sketching. I'm just going to do a simple box. And oh, for some reason, I don't know if this is my settings, but if your thing says flow 15%, turn it up to 100, because let's just work with very pure things, 100% on everything. And so now I'll just sketch a box. And I'm not very good at sketching directly on my Cintiq. I use the Cintiq mainly for rendering, but it's also, I can sketch on here. Now, when you're sketching on this, on a Cintiq, try to be a one-stroke wonder. Try to do things in one stroke. It's not like drawing with pencil and pen, where you're kind of scraping it together. You know, you can do this, I guess. I mean, I'm doing a pretty good job at it, but I like to do one strokes. So one stroke and one stroke. Maybe this one's a mistake. Undo until you get it right. So let's just turn off. Oh, undo is Control Z, Command Z. So just gonna hold it down. So let's just try to do a nice box. There. And I'm gonna make a deliberate mistake. Well, that's a mistake. And then, so what you do is you do it until you get it. You keep undoing until you get it. So, but I can do it much better there. And let's just make some more mistakes. Oops. Instantly got the magnifying glass. B for brush to get there quickly again. So undo until you get it right, because those one strokes look so nice. So there, I'm good with that. One stroke, that's wrong, and that was perfect. That was not on purpose. This is, I'm really legitimately trying to do this there. So it's just an undo, try again, undo, try again, and you'll get it eventually. Okay. And so this is the digital look. Oopsie, sorry. This is the digital look. This type, this is not possible really in using analog materials, pencils and pens, really. This is the pure digital look. But if you want to fake it and make it look like you're doing a pencil drawing, it's easy. So what you do is, this is the digital look, but I still have this, I'm not changing any settings, still got my same pen, but I go up here to this guy right in here and select dissolve. And let's go to dissolve, right here, dissolve. It's one underneath because it's, so let me do a stroke and I'll show you. You see, it's a little rough and it looks very much like pencil. So, or very dark pencil. So you can really do a sketch and it looks more pencil-y. It looks more analog if you put this dissolve on right in here. I personally don't do this much. I use this if I'm doctoring a drawing. So here's an example. I'll open recent. I'm opening up my hand sketch, my manual sketches I did before the break. So open recent, cover image. Wait, what? Oh, scan. Okay. So let's say I want to fake, let's say I did a pencil sketch like this, and I want to fake it. I need to do something in here, and I want to fake it. It's obviously we did this in pencil, and so let's say I want to maintain that pencil look. What I will do is I'll get my pen tool. I'm going to go into dissolve, and it's too harsh right now. It's too dark, so I'll just turn down the opacity, and it will start to look like, you see, it's looking like the pencil already. So let's say I want to make this a little bit darker. And most people wouldn't notice that it's digital. It looks just like the pencil. Maybe I want to get in here and you know, pop this off a little bit and make it darker. And with that dissolve, it looks just like pencil. Okay, is everyone cool so far? Okay, great. Now, it's awkward as hell right now. To do this line right here, I am having to really contort my arm and it's just so unnatural. My natural flow is this. I'm a right-handed guy, and so this feels good. This, I'm having to push the pen, pull the pen, and it is very awkward for me. So what I'm gonna do to get this particular angle right here, I'm gonna rotate my screen, which is R. And this, you're gonna use this all the time. Now I can easily do my favorite strokes by just doing this, and then this, I'm gonna rotate and get this one here. Oh, there, and rotate again, press R, and touch the screen and rotate it. And then B for brush, because you already, now I can really get these strokes real nice. Just gotta rotate that thing to whatever you're most comfortable with in terms of how you like your hand to move. There we go, and some simple shading. And rotate it back into place. But I don't really use this pencil technique much. I'm just showing you that if you have a pencil sketch, you can continue that pencil sketch in Photoshop if you turn it on to dissolve. Let's get back to digital. Okay. Eraser is exactly like pen, but it's the opposite. It takes away. So the eraser is right down here, right here. This is obviously eraser, and it's just like the pen, eraser tool. Don't use these other guys. Don't worry about those guys. Just use this top one, and eraser just works just like the pen, and it allows you to erase. Now, if I look up here, and then I see it's an airbrush eraser. By default, I don't know if it's default but you see it erases nice and airbrushy. But if I want it to erase hard, then I'm going to choose a hard brush. So I'm going to go down here and choose one of these guys that I'm sketching, same as what I'm sketching with. And then it's a hard erase. Oops. E is eraser. Press E, and then, so you're going to use that a lot. Oh, so I messed up there. And I'm on eraser. So now it just makes a hard erase. Using those bracket tools to make it smaller, so I can make little smaller erases. Maybe I want to erase out these lines. So I'm using my brush, brush size tool to just make sure that I'm getting in there nice and accurate. Now, if you guys have any issues, or if you're seeing something that's not right on your screen, let me know. So, if you want to get rid of all those little corner pieces, then anyway, that's the eraser tool. Oops. E for eraser. I accidentally went onto the wrong layer. I don't know why that happened, but it's fine. It's okay. So there we go. That's eraser. I quite often use this gradient eraser as well. Sometimes it's nice to put this eraser to really, if your strokes are too far up there, you can kind of just erase it a little bit and still have that architectural look where the lines do go out of bounds a little, but sometimes you make them too long, you just erase them down a little bit. Something like that. Okay. So, by the way, homework is I forgot exactly, but it's do me a couple of pages of line drawings. I don't care what you draw really with using digital tools. Let me find I forgot what the homework is. Homework is Monday. Monday's homework day. Check homework. Oh, 2 tabloid sized pages of line sketches in Photoshop. So do me a couple of pages of line drawings, whether they're boxes. And the point of the homework is just so you can get used to these brushes. And you know, practice line weights and sizes. So here's how you would do some line weights. Let's just do a simple box. I'm going very light. Okay, simple box, I went super light. Oh, you know why it's super light? Because my flow went to 15. The new Photoshop is doing weird default things. I'm not used to it, but anyway. Flow means it's laying down less ink. So, but I'm gonna crank it up full blast.
Did you say it was due on Monday?
Yeah, it's due on Monday.
That is, I think we have that day off. I think that's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Really, is it? All right, then it's, oh man, oh, really? Okay, that's cool, whatever. You know, because this, thank you for telling me and reminding me, I'd forgotten about that. But that's cool. All right, let's say this is due on Wednesday then.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. But let's play with some line weights. So, all right, here's my basic. Let's just do another box. I want to use some thin lines, really light. Everything's about the same line weight, but line weight is important. So down here, I'm now going to beef up my line. I'm beefing up the size of my brush. You can see by me pressing the bracket, and then down here, you want that fat line down below, because the box is sitting on the table, and it's like that's the darkest, heaviest line. Rotate around so I can get this angle nice, and just stroke it. Rotate, and you know, just automatically using smart use of line weights, just pop things off a lot. As you can see a little bit, you know, just looking at comic strips and comic books, how they use that line weight. So maybe a little bit back here, just a little bit. And B for brush, just there, and then rotate around to here. It keeps swapping. I think I'm pressing the wrong buttons. So, you know, this just having line weight is very, very important. Okay. That's an introduction to Photoshop. And I hope I'm not boggling your mind a little bit. I figured doing black and white, line weight, simple things like this is a great introduction to the 3 different softwares I want to show. The next one I'm going to show is Illustrator, how to do the same stuff in Illustrator. But I have to tell you, Photoshop is way easier to sketch in than Illustrator, but let me show you Illustrator. So I'm going to just close Photoshop for now, hide Photoshop, and let's go to Illustrator. Now, Illustrator is a pain in the neck to sketch with, but it's possible. I'm going to make a new file. New. And I'm going to once again use letter. And I'm going to once again use landscape. Now, we don't have pixels. This software does not use pixels. This is vector art, which means it's all about paths. So let's sketch with this. So I made a new page. Here I am. And to start with, you're probably going to be looking at this. If you haven't opened Illustrator before, it's going to look like this. Window, workspace, essentials. This is what your workspace probably looks like. Oh, my cat's in. Come on, get off the keyboard. Okay. So this is probably what your space looks like, and we're fine with this. It's cool for now. I don't want to get into all the crazy stuff on Illustrator yet. So just like Photoshop, it works with layers. Photoshop and Illustrator work very similarly with layers and yeah. So I'm on a layer. Now let's sketch with Illustrator. Now, there's 2 ways to sketch, but one way I have the worst trouble with, and it is, where's the sketching thing? Oh, once again, it's a brush right here. Here's the brush. So let's try a standard paintbrush tool right here. Now, so many problems come about with this. So let's just do a, now, I'm using pressure sensitivity and it does, I'm pressing hard, I'm pressing soft. It doesn't adjust it. Okay, that's one thing which I can fix. But let me show you, if I press Control Y, and hey, let me just tell you something that I am doing Illustrator and Photoshop today. But for the next couple of weeks, we're going to focus on Photoshop so you don't get mind blown. And then the couple of weeks after that, we're going to focus on Illustrator. So I know I'm giving you a lot of information from different softwares, but it's just a little demonstration just to show you basics of these softwares. But let me show you. So, okay, here I'm sketching with the default brush. Now, if I press Control Y, which shows me the paths, you can see the paths. This is just the paths without the rendering. And that's how, you can see how that's what it looks like. And then that's what the path looks like. Now, this is a really hard thing to sketch with, honestly. I will show you how you do get pressure sensitivity out of it, but there's a nicer tool which sketches pretty darn good. But let me just show you, just to give you an, hold on, that's not what I'm looking for. I don't use this much. Brush. Okay, it gets complicated instantly, so I think I'm just not gonna show you this right now. But hold on, I just turned on my brushes. So let's just turn that off. I'm going into window brushes because it's a brush. I'm using a brush here. And this is the brush I'm using. It's already highlighted for me right there. If I want pressure sensitivity on it, I'm gonna double click on it. Okay, it's a 5-point round. We don't talk about pixels here. It's more about points. So anyway, 5-point round, default, it's round. And oh, size. Size says it's fixed. So what happens if I make it pressure sensitive? So it's fixed right now. You can see everything's monoline. But if I go down here and go to pressure, I will have now pressure sensitivity. And if I go, if I say variation, it's gonna, you can tell, see these little dots up here? By default, it's 0. So even though I have pressure sensitivity, it's default 0 variation. But if I start messing with this, you can see how this dot gets smaller. So when I'm pressing light, it'll be a thin line. And when I'm pressing hard, it's going to be a thicker line. So I'm going to press OK. These strokes. Now, this is why Illustrator bothers me with this particular tool, because this is just a pain in the neck. I'm going to say leaf strokes, I think. Now let me try. Yeah, it doesn't work. Well, let me just try one more time, and I'm going to do the other. Okay, I'm going to say okay. Okay, now it works. This is an issue. I don't fully understand this, but I'm going to show you another way. But yes, you can sketch, but it's just not as, it's just, I don't know, it's just not, it's a vector art. It's these paths. So it's just not as fluid. So let me show you something that is more fluid. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to dump this one by dragging it into the waste bin, the trash can. Now, under this, in this brush thing, there's another thing called Blob Tool. And this is where you do get this more authentic type of sketching technique. Hold down, and here's this Blob Tool. And let's just see if it works. Yep, it works. So the Blob Tool, what it is let me show you Control Y, which is, I forgot what it means. Control Y means, it means like path view or something. But notice, instead of one path, so now each time I do a stroke, it outlines a stroke. So now it's a whole filled piece. And here I can kind of sketch a box. No, let me turn it into this. But Illustrator is not a sketching software. because I don't have that R tool, I cannot rotate. It's not meant to be a sketching software, but you can sketch with it. And I do use this for like vector art for big stuff. I'll show you some projects I'm working on, but you know, you can sketch with it, but it's not very fluid. And what Illustrator is really meant for is this tool. Let me grab everything. So I'm grabbing everything. We'll get into all these buttons later, but I'm using this white arrow. And this is how you grab some things. And you can see now everything's highlighted. And I'm just going to press delete. But what Illustrator is really for is for this sucker right here. This is your go-to tool. This is what you use all the time. And this is where, I don't know if you use CAD yet, but this is where you make your own shapes. And this is where the tool comes in. And then again here, it's filled with black. And this little square thing with an empty square inside is the line. So if I were to press that little button, the line comes out and then the fill goes away. And then there, the fill is black and the line is empty. So if I'm with this symbol right here symbolizes a line. And then let's say I wanted to, you won't be able to tell. But if I click on this, double click on it, I can turn this red. Oops. So I can fill this in. I double click on that. I can change the color to any color. And then I click on the outline. I want it to be red. You can turn it to red. So now you can see it's a red outline. I want it to turn to green. Just get down here in green. So this thing, and now you'll see it's green. This is the guide that you use a lot. And also these basic tools. And this tool, this Illustrator looks complicated. It is a little, but it's actually way easier than CAD. And this tool is I was going to swear there. This tool is the Don Daddy for orthographic drawings. And it's such a good tool, this. And I'm not going to go into Illustrator deep right now. I just wanted to illustrate sketchability of Illustrator. It's quite hard. Now, the final thing I wanted to show you, I showed you 6 o'clock, we still have 45 minutes, great. I showed you manual drawing and different lines, different tools, pens and pencils. Showed you some Photoshop, different tools for Photoshop, line drawing, and I showed you a little Illustrator. The last thing I wanted to show you, and this is like the bonus round, is Procreate. So this is just like in Photoshop. This, you can choose different brushes. So here, this is the default line brush. Let's try something else. Let's try this one. You go light. This even has better pressure sensitivity than the Wacom. It's like super nice. Look how I'm shaky because I'm a human. I'm not hungover or nothing like that. But I could turn on smoothing, but I'm just look at the pressure sensitivity on this guy. Now right now it's just using the pen's weight. I'm just using the pen's weight. I'm not touching it at all. I mean, I'm just resting the pen on the screen, and I press it harder. This thing's amazing. Now, okay, we're human, so we're all gonna have a little jitter. So, well, not as extreme as that, but this is me going slow and trying to be straight. You know, there's a little jitter in there. If I go fast, then I'm good. But I can smooth this out. And this is great for sign writing and also you can do this on Photoshop. But I'm going to select this brush, double click on it, and then right here, stabilization, just what it means, stabilization. I can make this more stable, streamline amount. Hold on, let's just see. I'm going to test it here. I'm going to go slow and there, and let's see pressure, stabilization amount. Yeah, so right here, this, by the way, you buy this software for like under $15, and you can always get all the updates without having to pay anything extra. And so things have changed. This software is always updating all the time. So if I want to have it really stabilized, then instead of doing, you see, it's, so if I want to do some really smooth, beautiful arches, I can do that. And but if I turn it down, let's just clear this. I forgot how to clear it because I never use this thing. Stabilization. Oh, yeah, I could never get it as smooth. It's a little jaggedy, but then I want to smooth it out. I can do. It's just somehow smoother when you turn on stabilization. And also they have this on Photoshop as well, which is a very, very cool thing. But anyway, let's move on. Okay, layers. This is a layer panel, and I can add another layer. I can get rid of a layer by sliding to the left or right, delete, or there's a lot of options. If I just click it, I can clear. There's a lot of options on this, just like in Photoshop. But let's just practice some line. Let's just do some squares, some boxes. So I'll show you some different brushes. Just like you want to make it look like a pencil, this is very convincing pencil. And see, it just looks, to me, it looks very much like a pencil. And I don't know why I'm double stroking all the time, but you see, this is even better than a pencil. And as far as I'm concerned, this is way better than a real pencil. And I can zoom in, I'm pinching and pinching and pulling and this is, so that's why I don't use pencil anymore, because if I'm gonna use pencil, might as well use this. And let's do exactly that same stuff I was talking about. I was using for break. There's my light source. So my shadows are going to come this way and this way. And now I'm going to get in there and I'm going to really just start to just beef up this line weight. And here as well. So there, look at that, it's way nicer than a pencil. And so now I'm going to just shade it in. Pressing quite hard. And there's like tilt. So yeah, way better than a pencil and cheaper as well, ultimately. You know, if you buy all those art materials, it'll cost you thousands of dollars by the end of the year. But if you get an iPad for $1,000, it'll last you 5 years. So, okay, so here's my, I wonder if you can see me. Let me just look at myself, and then just, if I move my thing down here, then you can see how I'm working with my pencil. So I'm going straight 90 degrees on the screen. It's that mono line weight. But then if I tilt my pencil like this, see, it gets fat, just like a real pencil. You know, so I'm on the edge, and this is really great for filling in stuff quick. There's one side. This is the darker side. And then this is going to be the lightest side. But I have to make this side more darker. Well, my English is so bad. I need to make it darker. Oops, and I need to make the other side darker now too, because you see my sunlight's coming here. This is going to be my darkest area. So let's get in there. And this saves me. So instead of drawing everything manually with a pencil, where I don't have undos, this is really the ticket. You know, that looks dope already. So let's just put in some highlights in there. So I'm going to switch this to white using the same pencil. And in here, look at that highlight. I just busted in there. I don't even have to get out the white gouache paint. And let's do this one too. Let's do this one down here. So there we go. Okay, now let's try this same, let's go back to black. Let's try another box, but using that other pen tool. This, my other favorite, where is it? It's a studio pen. Let's try that. And I'm pinching and pulling to get the screen in the right position so it's comfortable for me to draw. There, just one stroke each side. Once again, the light source is up here. By the way, I'm not drawing this light source for you. I'm drawing it for me, actually. And I'm in a habit of always drawing a light source because I always want consistent light. And so I always do that, because if you don't have consistent light, your drawing looks a little amateur. So the shadow. And by the way, oops, it turned to eraser mode. It does that if I forgot. If I double tap it, I don't really remember because it's muscle memory. I mean, I know how to work this software very well, but I can't remember how I do it because I'm in such a habit of doing it that I forgot. Like, how do I turn it into an eraser? Or okay, well, anyway. So now let's just fill this in. Fade this out. And then, so the light's up here. So in here is going to be darker. Darkest near me. Oh, look, okay, let me show you something. That's okay. I have too much stabilization on. And therefore it doesn't make me, it kind of makes it a little difficult. You see, my lines are not going all the way to the edge right here because I have that stabilization on. So let me turn that stabilization off. Stabilization. Oh, it is off. Oh, weird. All right, then, well, whatever. That's one side, obviously, and then we're going to do another side. And up here, fade it off. Not the prettiest box I've ever done, but let's just go over it again. You know, when you see something wrong, you got to fix it. Otherwise, it looks like crap. So you just got to fix stuff. Okay, there. At least it's a little bit better. So, okay. And then if I want to, I can share this onto my computer directly. I can airdrop it. I go, so here we are. I should probably run through each of these different things, but I'm just going to show you the capabilities of this. Right now, let's say I want to take this into Photoshop and just go into this wrench thing, and I share, sorry, my bad, share right here. And then I share it. You can share it as a PSD, which is Photoshop file, which means that you've got layers. Share it as a Photoshop file. Send it to my computer, airdrop. Oh, well, actually, here it is already. And then I can send it to myself. So it's sent to myself.